Today's episode of the DolphinsTalk.com podcast is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a gift, or the newest hat to hit the market for your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Not in South Florida? No worries. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home. Not in the United States? No worries there either, as they will ship to you international fans as well. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com, Caneswear.com.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast network.
You're listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet. Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
All right, Miami! Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. Hey, what do you say, Miami? You're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Dolphins Talk. My name is Marissa Marino, and with Father's Day weekend coming up, we have decided to honor all of the fathers out there with a special Father's Day episode. Joining me today is the father of one of our beloved Miami Dolphin players. I'd like to welcome Javon Holland's dad, Robert Holland, to the show. Robert, thank you so much for joining me. How are you today?
Hey, Marissa, I'm doing good. I'm doing excellent. I'm doing excellent. Thanks for asking.
I love it. That's
How are you?
contagious.
How are you today?
I am doing excellent as well. I live in Mississippi and it's not 100 degrees today. It's about 85. So I'm feeling all right today.
Good. That's geez.
Well, on behalf of myself and Dolphins Talk, we'd like to officially wish you an early happy Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you very much.
Of course. We know Father's Day weekend is right around the corner. And for us, for every player we know and love, there is usually one or more people behind the scenes that have been there with the player through their journey. These loved ones, to me anyways, are unsung heroes. They don't get much attention. And so it was really important to me that we not only had a father on to show our appreciation, but to learn more about you and find out what it's like behind the scenes for parents of a player who have a dream to play in the NFL. And sometimes it can be a thankless job until they make it to the NFL. Then maybe, hopefully, there's some good stuff there. But
Exactly.
we want to first say just thank you so much for all you've done. We are so glad to have Javon on the Dolphins.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd say he's a keeper.
Yes, we will keep him for sure. So I've done some research and I know that football is a part of your background. So I would just love to know, when did you find your passion for football? When did that start for you?
So I have 5 stepbrothers and I have one real brother. I'm from a blended family from about 8th grade, but I got introduced to the game probably in about the 3rd grade. And believe it or not, my brother has been a diehard Miami Dolphins fan his entire life. He's 6 years older than I am. I'm 58. And when the game was introduced to me, he was a Miami Dolphins fan. But it was my brother, so there was no possible way that I could like the same team he liked. So I first went Vikings, then I went Steelers. And I had been a Steeler fan until I got older and started finding out about the 49ers. And I jumped, between the 49ers and the Steelers, and then, became officially a 49er fan since about junior high or high school. And then, the recent transition to the Miami Dolphin fan. So anybody that loves us, I love. So that was when I was introduced to the game when I was young. When I fell in love with the game, had to be on the playground in 6th grade, and we play a game in California. It's called Kill the Man with the Ball. So there's 30 or 40 kids out on the grass. There's one ball. The ball gets thrown up in the air, and whoever gets the ball has to basically survive. And so you have to run through the group of 40 and get tackled. If you fall on the ball, you get tackled, you got to let the ball go. And there's no point to the game other than just, an opportunity to maim someone. But it was so fun to me because no one could catch me. And I was dodging people and running through people, and I was getting hit, and it didn't hurt because I was having so much fun. Because I have a brother who's 6 years older than me who practiced on me. He practiced all his wrestling moves on me. He practiced his football moves on me, and he just roughed me up so much that, I was playing with, with a brother who was 6 years older. By the time I started playing with my age group, it was, you guys are soft. This is easy. And then the family split happened, and a portion of the family, my mom, we moved to New York for a couple of years, to Staten Island. And then when I came back, they had community football. And then I joined community football. And so it was a wrap for me. Like, little kids get to play football with helmets and shoulder pads.
Yeah.
And then I was sold at that point.
That's so cool. The game sounds very dangerous, but I'm glad that you were successful and you came out alive and found your love of football through that.
Oh, wow. I mean, it was kind of a rite of passage. So I didn't actually have to join a fraternity or anything when I got to college, because I had already went through playing that game in the 6th grade, because you could get crushed in that game because there was only one ball. Everyone wants the ball.
Right.
And that is where you started the desire to have the ball to score a touchdown. For me, that's how it started. It was just trying to run through 40 guys, because not many could do, but in my neighborhood, at my school, I did. And I stood on that for a long time. And that's kind of where the spark came from. And then because they had organized football with coaches and designated positions that you tried out for, and you made the team, and then you got assigned a position and a jersey, and there's a uniform. And my dad was at every single game, never gave me a ride to a single practice, but he was at every single game, him and his buddies. That was huge for my dad to pay attention to me, because I had other brothers and sisters that he had to raise as well, and for him to show up to my game was big, and I never wanted to disappoint, so I was always ready. So that's where I fell in love, and how I fell in love with the game. And then I was short in high school. When I got to high school, so I was about 5'6", 5'7", 135, But growing up, because I was one of the younger in my family, my name was actually Go Outside was my name. And so I just played sports all the time, and I played a variety of sports: soccer, tennis, volleyball, whatever there was, baseball, basketball. And then when I got to my first year in high school, I also had a woodshop class and chopped the tip of my finger off on my throwing hand, because by that time I was a quarterback.
Oh, no.
And so there was my curveball, there was my jump shot, there was my, my deep ball. All of that was gone. But fortunately for me, I had some people in my community. One being Herman Edwards, and the people that he was influencing were sort of in my town. And I went up to the high school one day. It was summertime, and I found this group of pro athletes and college athletes. They were up there training. Now, this was before cell phones, and this was before personal trainers. And this was back when, you had the high school workout, or you went to the gym and you figured out what Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing, and you went in there and you did that, right? So there wasn't strength and conditioning. It was just weightlifting.
Right.
And so those guys were on the field sort of working out. This was also during the time where you didn't work out for a team. Like, a week before football season, you started playing football with your buddies, and then you went to football practice. And a week before basketball, you started playing basketball, and then you went to basketball practice, kind of thing, right? Track and baseball was the same thing. And so the whole training aspect of getting better is what I learned from this conversation where I was introduced to Herman Edwards. He was sort of in the last years of playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. And he said, well, you were a quarterback, so you know routes, and you can't catch or throw the ball. You don't get to play with the ball. They said, you're a little brother, right? Because he knew my older brother, Warren. You're a little brother, right? You know how to be annoying. Just don't let anybody else play with the ball. I said, what do you mean? Well, be a defensive back. Your job is to keep the other guy from catching the ball. I was like, you're right. I am an annoying little brother. I can do that job. I can do that job. And he gave me some advice on, just backpedal through pick 3 routes a day, backpedal through each one in each direction 10 times, pick another 3 the next day. And then by the time you get to the game and the competition, you'll have your feet together, that kind of thing. And so it dawned on me that, you can break the game down into smaller pieces and then get good at the pieces and then put it all together. What a brilliant idea. And so I remember playing my first year, and then the next year just disappearing for the whole entire summer just to go and train. And just before the end of the summer, at my high school, Ron Rivera went to my high school, but he was at Cal Berkeley in his junior year by the time I got to my 10th grade year. He was an All-American linebacker at Cal Berkeley. He came back to our school, taught us all how to power clean. And so I spent the summer squatting, power cleaning, and, going out, working out with pro athletes in college, just getting killed in workouts. And, having to earn the ability and the right to work out with them or to be on the field with them, and then getting back to my game and just, saw the growth my junior year, and then did it again going into my senior year. Only problem was my senior year, I was 5'7". I was the captain of the football team, starting both sides of the ball, that kind of thing, but I was 5'7". So I went to a junior college, and then I grew 2 inches, and then ended up getting a full ride scholarship to Sacramento State, and set a new standard there, and had a great couple of years there. And then they retired my name and put me into the Hall of Fame in 2000. So it was all well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you're I feel like him telling you, you're the guy, you have to make sure, nobody, you talking about the ball. I mean, it's kind of like you did that earlier on when you played that game and you took the ball from everybody. I mean, it's kind of like a full circle moment,
Oh, it was a full circle moment. Part of my sadness about my finger being cut off at the tip, it was the best thing that could ever happen to me and was the worst thing that could happen to me all at the same time. Because like I said, I was a quarterback, but I was short, and I would have pursued it as far as I could take it, and it would have been to no end, because I would have been, in 1983, a black short quarterback who didn't really have a great arm, kind of thing. So that would have been a false, or I would have been a short point guard who, I wasn't a great shooter, had good feet and could dribble and all that. And then a baseball player, I was all right, but I pitched, I played second base and wasn't really a great batter. And then they put me in the outfield. I went out for the baseball team despite not having a finger. I went out for the basketball team despite not having a finger. And, I didn't make either team. I was, in right field and try to throw the ball home, and the ball would end up in the parking lot, and go play basketball. And I was great at playing defense, but I had nothing with regard to offense, so I didn't make the basketball team. And then so that just left me with track. The volleyball coach wanted me to come out. The tennis coach wanted to come out, but I didn't want to do those. I did run track my junior and senior year, and then I just prepped for football. And since I couldn't play with the ball anymore, after learning how glorious it was to have the ball and score a touchdown, now I was just out to be an annoying big brother, little brother, and not let anybody play with the ball. And that's where my joy for the game of breaking down the skill of how to play defensive back, how to coverage, to mimic the foot patterns of someone who's running forward and trying to fool you, kind of turning it into a dance. And then just the joy of being able to do that and deny you the ball. I just used to get the biggest kick out of that. And that was my joy, my pride. And that's where the development, the excellence, do everything the right way so you don't have to break bad habits. I wish I had that same thought process with my golf game. Been better off. But
well, you can still work on that in your spare time now. But I feel like it worked out for you pretty well. I mean, you played in the CFL, World League of Football, and then in the NFL with the 49ers. I mean, I'd be remiss to ask, was there a difference in the level of play as big of a gap as many think there would be between, or do you feel like there was a lot of CFL players who could have easily been on NFL teams?
Oh yeah. There's a huge difference. And at the same time, yes, there's a lot of players in the CFL who can play in the NFL. Here's the big difference. The difference is the CFL has players on their team who are on the team because of their birth certificate. And so why do you say that, Coach? Because they have mandatory amounts of Canadians that have to make the team.
Okay.
Not necessarily that you're talented. But there are Canadians who are talented. So that's I'm not saying that. But there's guys who were sitting in the locker next to me. If you didn't have that birth certificate, there's no way you'd be playing pro sports. And there's a lot of, and so that's the difference. The NFL, it's all earned.
Right.
You gotta go work out. You gotta train. You gotta compete for a job, and you gotta be able to keep a job. There just wasn't that much, and there just isn't that much, especially at the time, that much talent to fill a roster, which is evident by why we don't broadcast any college games up there because there's usually one or two guys per team that have they don't have the population density to be able to fill that many teams, and so that's why they have the Americans, but they feel like they have to keep the what they call Canadian content, and so they have mandatory numbers that you have to keep Canadian. So there's that, and then down here in the NFL, you have to compete to earn yours. So it's not even close.
Okay. So two different things. It was a different world when you stepped onto the field for the 49ers.
Oh, just absolutely completely. And I had been playing all my life, but I think the most fearful I had ever been was a preseason game. We played Denver at home. This was still the Elway years. And before the locker room, our guys are in there getting dressed, and it was that we go out on the field, you warm up, you go back into the locker room, and then they sort of announce you coming out. But in that moment right there, the guys are in there antsy. It was that first game, guys are competing, and our guys were banging their heads up against the locker and slapping pads and hitting each other. And I was like afraid for myself if they are in here beating each other up like this. What are they going to do to me? That lasted, but I always got that nervous energy before a game. But then see our guys beating each other up. That was the first time I was ever really afraid, because it's a game of extremes, right? Extremely big, extremely mean, extremely violent, extremely talented, extremely fast, extremely tall. All of the extremes are in there. Extremely angry, extremely motivated. But when you get a combination of extremely big, mean, angry, which is like D lineman, and talented, it's a scary thing. It's like they're grown men playing this game.
Right.
Anybody with criticism for anybody on an NFL roster is really missing it. Just you need to come down to a practice or come down and stand on a field, because these guys go through a lot. They are very, 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 very elite and very special if you're on an NFL roster.
And I think that that's something great for you to share, because as fans, you're watching your team on Sundays and you're looking at these guys, and sometimes there's this disconnect between, oh, this guy is out there actually playing and how big of a deal it is and what's going on. And it's so easy from the comfort of your couch to say, well, why did he miss that defender? Or how did that not happen? And it's, sometimes you have to remember, these guys, this is a physical sport, and what's on the line every time they step out onto that field.
Every time you step now, as you play and you've gone along with it, you get conditioned to it, and so you listen to the interviews, and guys have prepped themselves for this game. But when you play this game, it's the first thing I teach my athletes, especially the young ones. The first thing I teach them is how to protect themselves. First, because that's the first thing, because there's always their fear, there's contact. First you learn how to protect yourself, then you learn how to impose your will. Some guys are born just imposing their will. And then they get developed and skilled with it. And that's what they're training for, is how to impose your will. And so if the physicality of the game, the physicality of each athlete, and the generations of better techniques of how to impose yourself, along with the mentality. They're not out there buddy and helping each other up after they just tried to rip each other's head off and rip a limb. And some of these guys are, this is like imagine being a quarterback and you're standing there trying to pay attention down the field where there's a giant grizzly bear trying to rip your head off on every play. It's superimposing. That's why you got to have respect for these guys who play these games, because when you're out there, it's definitely different than sitting on your sofa eating a hot dog.
It is. And it's funny. Just real sidetrack. we watched, there was some film of Tua and his head cam and watching what he sees. And social media went ablaze when they saw that. And we were like, we will never say anything bad if he throws an interception, because looking at what he has to look at, that is insanity.
95% of people on earth would fold up in one snap. One snap after one hit.
Yeah.
If they were standing out there in Tua's position. 95%. That's why there's only, the top 1% of football players in the world who make it. Because the physical aspect of it, and what you have to have, the makeup you have to have in order to stand in and do a job like that.
Makes so much sense. So I know you said they called you Mr. Go Outside, but I know your son Javon goes by the nickname Hollywood, but I heard you had that nickname first. So I'm just curious, how'd you get the nickname Hollywood, so we know how Javon got it?
Okay. I'll tell you the story, but I will tell you this. He has made every single Father's Day and every single day of days absolutely the best by him having picked that name.
I love that.
As his nickname. That I couldn't have a bigger compliment from a son, from a child, than for them to have duplicated that or want to carry that moniker. So that's first.
Gonna make me cry over here, Robert.
Oh my gosh. Imagine me though, right? Imagine me. Don't be me, son. Be better than me. Okay. I'm Hollywood 2.0 then. Yes. Because there's two sides to that story. But let me give you the piece of how I got the name. I told you we were a split family, and I told you that we moved to New York, to Staten Island. So when I moved to Staten Island, to New York, I was the kid from California. So, I don't know anybody. My cousins, we live with my cousins out there. We're going to school. Annie at IS-12, Annie S. Prawl on Staten Island. I don't know if the school's still there or not. We go to this big school. I have to stand up to say my name. I tell them my name is John Robert Holland. Oh, you from California? Oh, he's Hollywood. Day one. Hollywood Holland. It just fit. It rolled off the tongue, and they just called me. They call, hey Hollywood. I don't think it was complimentary at first, right? It was kind of you're from California, and no one knew anyone from California at that point, and I knew I was the only one in the school who was from California, and so everyone just started calling me Hollywood, and my whole class would just call me that, and then it just spread throughout the whole school. And then when I came back, I had sent a letter to my class in New York. Like, you guys got to write me. And so they wrote me, and everybody who sent me a letter back, they sent it to my school, to my class, and it came with, these letters are for Hollywood. So everyone in my class started calling me Hollywood when I was back in California. And so I just kept the name because it fit. So that was how I got the name, Hollywood. So, and I think part of Javon, and this is a funny story. And so I do have a gym, and I've always had a gym. My first gym I built inside my house, and I started training with Jameer's older brother, who's 4 years older than him. I started when he was 6. Javon must have been 2 or 3, and he was just the annoying little kid, like this dad, like this dad, like this dad, like this dad. He was just But anyway, so it got to the point where we had moved from Canada. This was in 2008, and we come home, and he goes to middle school, and then he's about to go to high school. And so I started telling him how he's got to start assuming the responsibility for his own greatness. Like, I don't have the same kind of energy you should have. My energy for what you need to do to get ready to move to the next level. You need to have more energy for yourself. And so I think one day I was fussing with him because I had asked him, before you come to the gym, walk the dog, do this, do that, do this. And so I ended with this thing that I had said to him before. I said, man, I wish I had somebody like me who motivated me, who did all the stuff that I do for you. I wonder what I would be. And so I told him that day. And then after his junior year, all these scholarships had rained on him. He had popped, right? He wasn't just this sort of tall, skinny kid kind of thing. His junior year, he had like started looking the size. He started looking the part. So it justified all the plays he was making. He was at that 6 foot height. And so he had like all the Pac-12 and, they had 25 offers at that point. And I was fussing at him about something. And I said the same thing to him. I wonder if I had somebody like me when I was your age, I wonder what I would be. And he looked at me. He said, you would be me. And it was like hard to argue. And then after that was when he adopted the name Hollywood 2.0 kind of thing. And I just kind of laughed and then cried and then laughed and then cried.
Aww.
And it was a gesture. And so that was his handle, all through the end of high school, into college. And then when he got to Miami, this snowman thing cropped up, which I thought was pretty neat.
Well, I love, that's a great story. That's so special. I'm glad you guys have that between the two of you. So, I mean, what was Javon like as a kid? How would you describe him?
He was the kid who had no Javon always knew what he wanted to be. He always knew what he wanted to do. He always wanted to be a football player. He had no self-awareness about competition. He had no mercy for anybody. He always just wanted to play. He was much like me, except for he had a dad that encouraged him to go play. And I think one day when he was 5 years old, I told him, I said, you are the greatest 5-year-old I have ever seen in my life. And he said two things. He said, I am, and I am, is what he said. He said, I am, and I am. And he never looked back. Funny story about this guy. We're upstairs in our house. It was a 2-story house, looks out into a cul-de-sac. There's a little girl across the street. Javon is probably 8 years old. This girl's like 4. She's got one of those like Fisher Price adjustable basketball courts in front of her house. She's kind of out there by herself. Her mom kind of walks into the house, and she's got the little bouncing basketball. She's bouncing it with 2 hands. She's walking up to the court, and she reaches up as high as she can, and she drops it in the basket. She claps. She goes get the ball. Javon is watching her in the window, and I'm watching Javon look in the window, and then all of a sudden he just sprints to the stairs, and then down the stairs. He's out the front door, and he sprints across the street. And so I'm looking out the window like, where is he going? He walks over, he sees the little girl, and he sashays over to her. Hi, is that your basketball? Yeah, he's just kind of nice. And she sees him. She knows he's the neighbor from across the street, and she hands him the ball with a big smile. He gets the ball. He backs up. He runs. He jumps as high as he can. And he smashes the ball into the rim. Then the smashes the rim. The rim falls down. The mom comes walking out like with her palms up in the air, like, what is going on? And Javon sprints back across the street and then sprints through the door and then up the stairs. And he's so pumped. He's like, Dad, did you see me dunk on her? I was mortified. I was like, bro, she's 4. And that was the first moment it dawned on him, that, oh, she wasn't ready.
No, and hopefully through as he's grown up, he's realized you know, especially if you like a girl, you got to take it a little bit easy on her, you know?
It had nothing to do with liking the girl. Somebody was playing a sport and he was
And he
going
just
to
saw
compete. Oh gosh.
the
Didn't care if you were.
competition in him lit up and he was like, I'm here. I'm ready.
Yes, I am here for it. She was not ready for the flying dunk.
That's amazing.
And so the third grade, this is how pointed he was. So Javon always had a ball in his hand. He always wanted a ball. It rained a lot in Vancouver, and my wife worked. His mom worked, and I would be in the off season, so I'd be taking care of the kids. And so my deal was, all right, we get up, we get outside. We're either going to a park, we're going to McDonald's where they have the McDonald's play place, and like we're going to do some kind of competition or something, and then we'll go to like a Toys R Us or we'll go to a movie. And so the Toys R Us was a place we could always go because they let you play with all of the toys. They let the kids play with all the toys without you even having to buy anything.
I remember doing that.
You remember that?
Yes.
So, you know, Jameer would head to the trucks and Jada would head to the dolls and the games and this and that. And Javon would always go to the balls where the balls were. The balls were. Javon had a collection of 25 balls. He had basketballs, he had baseballs, he had red balls and blue balls. And, all kinds of different balls. And every single time you go, he's gonna go to the place where the balls are. And so we're not getting anything today. You guys got so many toys at the house and you're not cleaning them up. You're not getting anything. He said, right, you guys aren't getting anything except for Dad, I'm getting this ball right here. Like, no, you're not getting that ball. We do this every single time. But I've got to get this ball right here. Javon, no, you can't have a ball. You've already got one like that. I don't have one like this. I don't have one like this. Why don't you have one like this? Watch this. And then he bounced the ball. See, I don't have one that bounces like that. See how this one bounces? And so we go through that every single time. And so, of course, he ends up with the ball. So then his brother have to go get something. Then his sister have to go get something.
Oh, look what he started.
His dad is soft. But Javon he'd go to bed with a ball in his hand. He'd wake up, and if that ball wasn't in his hand, he would just tear his room up looking for that ball. It's under your pillow. And then he'd have to have that ball until he moved on to another ball. And he'd move on to another ball. So by the time he was in the third grade, they had the what do you want to do with your future speech that you had to write. You had to draw a picture. You had to give a speech to your class. And so it was Javon's turn. Parents either could make it or couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. My wife couldn't make it. And so we get a phone call from the teacher. Javon made his presentation today, and he walked up in front of the class and said, "Hi, my name is Javon Holland, and my parents are Filipino," is what he told everyone in the classroom. It's like, wait, Javon, but you're not Filipino. I don't think anybody reasoned with him. But the important thing about that was that he said, I want to be a professional football player. And this was in the third grade. And he has never deviated from that at all. He played other sports. He played soccer. He played baseball. He played lacrosse. And he played them at a high level, those kind of things. But it was always about football. It was always preparing for football. And so every year we make sure he calls his Filipino parents to check in with them. We've never let that down. As a matter of fact, whenever you see him, ask him about his Filipino parents, ask him how they're doing, and then how are your real parents. So we never let him live that down. But he is living out the dream and the path that he set forth through himself. And I think the biggest, one of the bigger compliments is that people make is about how much of a gentleman he is. And I think he's a gentleman because he's always sort of been on the path of what he wanted to do and where he wanted to get to. And so he's never had a lot of stress or thought about another thing or stress about another thing. He's only been about the work of achieving what he ultimately wanted to do. So he said he wanted to be like his dad and be a professional football player, and he made it happen. So So it's just a neat little story about him.
That's great. I mean, we all already love Javon, but once all the fans listen to this, I mean, your son is like, everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Javon Holland. Because those are just such great stories. And I love that you were able to share that with us. So moving kind of forward into Javon's career, let's just talk about, I mean, we know he went to Oregon. Let's talk about the mood in the house. What was it like the night Javon was drafted by the Dolphins? Like, did he think Miami was going to be a spot for him? Was like he in contact with them prior to the draft? I mean, what was going on?
Nah, no clue. So, Javon's, he's a bit of an anomaly. He had a top 10 grade. He was one of the top athletes coming out. He was on Mel Kiper's big board. He was projected to be a first round guy, and he didn't go in the first round. And part of that had to do with that, the George Floyd thing, and the part of it had to do with he advocated to have the name of the racist slave owner, to have his name off of the law building at Oregon. He stood up and had the whole. So the George Floyd thing happens, correct? His head coach at the time, Mario Cristobal, his brother was a police officer in Florida. And I know Florida has nothing to do with the George Floyd thing, but the Oregon hadn't made a statement about the George Floyd situation. The whole nation was in an uproar over this cop kneeling on this black man and putting his knee. The Oregon football team has a Zoom meeting with all the players and says, we're not making a statement on it. We're not going to speak about it. We're not going to have an opinion on it. And it was based on Mario Cristobal's brother said that was the proper technique of how you handle the situation. Mm-hmm. The board, who chimes in? Javon chimes in, and Javon tells Coach Cristobal and everyone on there. He said, Coach Cristobal, you told my parents that you would treat me like your son when I came here. And what I saw in that situation was a guy who looked like my friends. He looked like my brother. He looked like my dad. He looked like my uncle. He looked like family. And so if that guy was your family, one of your sons, or one of us, would you be happy with the outcome? For what the guy was being accused of, rightly or wrongly, did he deserve to die in that manner? And so if that's something you believe was okay, maybe people who look like us, who look like my brother, who look like me, maybe Oregon is not the place for us. And immediately the president of the school and the athletic director, that's enough, cut. The Zoom meeting was over. They called back about 15 minutes later, and the University of Oregon, the football team, the university, all made a statement. We are deeply disturbed by this event, and we are with George Floyd, and we are with the community. And then once they made that statement, then Cal Berkeley made a statement, then USC made a statement, then UCLA made a statement, then the Pac-12 made the statement that they were all on George Floyd's side. And that's what Javon did to shift that. Then he got some notoriety from that. And then Javon noticed in his research that the law building was named after a racist guy. He hated black people, he hated Asians, and he had advocated to have them removed from the country, but he also donated all this money to Oregon. And there was one black board member, a lady on the board, and she had been working on getting that name changed for 10 years. And Javon wrote about it and spoke on it, and it got picked up by the newspaper. And in 3 days, they made the decision to change the name of the law library.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so the lady who is she was the president of the law school at Oregon told Javon at any point in his life, if he ever decides to go to law school, she felt he should be advocating for people that he has a full scholarship and with her tutelage there at the University of Oregon. So how I knew it was going to affect Javon and his draft status, because Javon now had this sort of Colin Kaepernick tag. This was the coming off COVID. There were no flying in for draft interviews. Normally they fly players in and they talk to them and bring them around the building and meet all the coaches. Well, they were doing it all on Zoom meetings. So he's sitting at my kitchen table and I'm sitting on the sofa and he's talking to, 10 or 15 teams each day. And some teams would call, it'd be the head coach and the defensive coordinator, the DB coach, the special teams coach, and some would call it'd be just the defensive coordinator and the DB coach and the special teams coach. Well, the Raiders called and the whole staff was there. And the Raiders would call again the next day and the whole staff would be there. And a few teams did that. But the Raiders, the last 2 weeks, they called like every day for like a week and the whole staff would be there. And then Javon was dating someone at the time whose father was a former sheriff. He got a phone call that there's a guy digging into their background. They were doing the background investigation. Called Javon, told him, hey, they're doing the background investigation on you. And then that day, when the Raiders called, John Gruden asked Javon, hey, are you going to change your name to Malcolm X when you get into the league? And I jumped up. And then Javon put his hand up. He said, nah, I got this, Dad. And listen, I use my platform to speak for those people who can't speak. And I'm only speaking for good. And if I'm not the kind of guy who you perceive as speaking for good or doing something wrong, maybe I should be part of your organization. And he hung up on him. And he didn't get drafted by then. And fortunately, he fell to a position where the Dolphins saw fit to be able to pick him up there in the second round, and it's the first safety drafted. And so we spent the draft with the thought process that he might still be picked up, kind of thing. And so that first day went by and nothing happened. We had all the people at our house, and we had a party set up over at my gym in the back, and there were people in town. And it didn't happen, and so that was a tough moment, like for all of us. Like, there was a possibility late round if they were gonna get you, but this thing was gonna affect you, and it did affect him, and so he fell to the second round. But he got picked up early, so we didn't have to sit through like a whole day. He was like the fourth pick in the second round, and boy, we were just jumping up and cheering, and the guys from the Isley brothers, from my generation, the Isley brothers, they announced his name, and it was, we had the camera in the house and all that kind of stuff, and we were sitting there, and it was just awesome. And there's this one picture that we have. I was gonna send it to you, but I didn't dig it up. It was like that moment, like, all this work, all these years, everything that you did, and we just took this moment to hug for a moment and paused, and it was just a great moment for the whole family, for everybody. So
sounds like
it
was
kinda,
sounds like it was emotional, and there was a lot that went on. But you know what? I have to really commend, publicly, Javon. I didn't know any of that, honestly, and commend him for all of that and for standing up for what he believed in. And the end of the day, things happen for a reason, and he made it home to the Miami Dolphins, and that's where he was supposed to be.
That's where he was supposed to be. Plus I told him, I was like, listen, after your career is over, 30 years from now, bro, you'll be able to run for mayor. You'll be,
there you go.
Got something to stand on. And then on top of that, my brother, who is just in tears because he cannot believe that his nephew is going to his lifelong favorite team. I imagine he's crying right now still. He still can't get
I was going to say, I mean, that to him must have been like, what?
Oh, unbelievable.
See, you should have stuck with your brother and liked the Dolphins from the get-go.
I know. I told him it was all his fault, and then I told him thank you. But yeah, it was. He was just blubbering the whole time. I was laughing at my brother the whole time.
Goodness.
He was just blubbering. Every time we go to a game, he's blubbering. Last year, Javon brought him into the building, gave him a tour, and then Dan Marino walked out. Oh my God, he was blubbering, and just crying. Just so happy. It's his bucket list. He was just so happy.
What an amazing moment for your brother. That's so super cool. Super cool. So how many games do you get to go to see Javon play every season?
I don't get to go to as many as I would like for two reasons. One, because I have a responsibility to my athletes here. Otherwise, I would just be gone every weekend. Plus there's great golfing and great fishing out there. I would never come back. So that's the probably the main reason. The other reason is because there's some of the games are in the snow, and I played in Canada, and I played in Edmonton, and I played in Saskatchewan and in Calgary. And one day when I was in Saskatchewan, it was actually the coldest place on earth that day, and I just said to myself, if the Lord wanted to end the earth with snow, he was going to start here. And so I pledged to myself, there's no sense in me sitting in -20, and they don't even have instant replay, and I got to walk further than my kitchen table to get a snack. I can't do it. I can't do it in the snow. So some of those Buffalo games, and
so I guess you weren't at that Kansas City playoff game, were you?
Nah, I wasn't at that. I wasn't at that game. I wasn't there at that game. I watched that one on TV, kind of thing. So
yeah.
But as much as I wanted to be there for him. He did everything he could to try to be a part of that when he was coming off that bad, those 2 ACL strains. It was, it's tough to recover from those ACL when it's ligament strains. You don't have blood flow in there. It just takes longer for him to heal. So, but he's up and healthy now. But yeah, so I'll be at the Niners games, and I'll be at the Seattle game, and I'll be at the Rams game, and then I don't have all of the Dolphins home games.
I'll be at the Dolphins home game. I don't live down there, but I'll be at the Dolphins game when the Raiders come into town and Christian Wilkins comes back.
I'll be at the Raiders.
If you're there, we're going to have to say hello.
Okay, without a doubt. Yeah, definitely. I usually get there a couple days. I usually get there a couple of days before too. So
okay, very cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have to ask you this because I was ecstatic. What was your reaction to that 99-yard interception return versus the Jets last year on that Hail Mary right before halftime?
Oh my God! I just took off running through my front door. I just got back. I was tickled. How much fun was that? And for me, not just having been a fan for the game, having played the game, coached the game for a long time. I see how teams try to attack Javon, which is very rare that they attack. Like, they're grown men whose job it is to organize their offensive attack, and they look and they go, okay, where's Javon? Okay, we're not going over there. Oh, you got Jaylen Ramsey over there. Okay, we're not going over there. Okay, you got X over there. Okay, we're not going over there. And we got to trick him. We got to fool him. And so he doesn't get a lot of opportunities to make plays. And when they do go at him, then he gets a chance to make plays because he's a playmaker, right?
Right.
Like, hoping this iteration of the Dolphins defense allows for them to use Javon the way he's supposed to be used, fully with all his skills from all three different levels, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's just my hope. So to see him get an opportunity to make a play and then for him to make the most of it, that's the part. Like, not just, get it and fall down, and not just, catch it and, run. Let's go and make something happen with it. Because that's who he's always been for as long as he's played. He's always been that guy to see past just the regular play. Let me go. Okay, 99. Let's go 99. And oh, what? You won a bunch of people 84-inch TVs. The only thing bad about it was I didn't get the TV. It's like, come on, bro. You don't need another TV, but your dad needs an 84-inch TV. I don't know if you know about the contest that was going on.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, that was crazy. I mean, they did not expect that to happen. But
exactly.
I mean, I was like thinking about it when I knew we were going to talk. I was like, that must have been so cool, because as a fan, it was cool. But if that was my child, I mean, that is a play that will go down in the history books. I mean, everybody was talking about it and airing it. I'm like, what a proud, awesome moment.
My gosh, the crazy thing is like because it's him, it's like it's who we watch, right? So he catches it, and I'm looking for who's blocking. I'm looking to expand because I need to see who's coming. And I think he probably took like 5 steps, and so I can tell when he's when he's on. I was like, oh, he's going. Oh, he's going. Oh, he's going. Then everybody's like trying to tell me to back up. They're screaming at me to back up because I'm trying to lead block. I'm trying to lead block for him. And then the dip, and then the touchdown. Oh, gosh. Just erupted. We just erupted. And then what happens when he makes a play is my phone just explodes.
Oh, I'm sure.
As if I'm not glued to the TV seeing it. Everybody's got to tell me. And that is in itself the joy and the blessing in who and what Javon is, because we're family. I have friends, extended friends from high school, friends from elementary school, and they have absolutely no reason really to call me on a regular basis, except for the fact that Javon is playing in the NFL. And so I am connected to so many people who actually have something that they want to say, that they want to talk about. And it keeps us connected. So many people in my circles have expanded, and so many people claim Javon because they know me, because they know his mom, because they know his sister, they know his brother. It's all those 6 or 7 degrees of separation, and people are just so proud that they know him. We got this one guy. I get a call from his wife. He trained with me when he's in high school. He's in his late 30s, and so Javon was training with me, with pro and high school kids, like when he was 4 and he was 5. So I get a call from this woman who I've never spoke to, but except for she feels like she knows me because her son or her husband, who's in his late 30s now, is like, I used to train with him. He's like in his early 40s. I used to train with Javon. And the wife kept on trying to figure out, like, wait a minute, the kid is just now, he's 20 and you're 40. Like, how could you have been training with him? He was a little, he was a little kid out there training with him. And even this guy is claiming,
that's great.
Playing, I trained with Javon. He was, 6'8". So it just cool. Makes it a neat story. It makes it's expanded the circles. My high school friends, whether I hung out with them or not, or said a word to them more than once or twice, they're on Facebook commenting and remembering things about me and telling stories that I did, which I won't share here. But it's just neat. It's just neat that is happening in my neighborhood. When I walk down the street, everybody has their favorite team, plus they're a Dolphins fan.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So
That's
a blessing inside of it.
That's awesome. I love that. Well, these are some great stories about Javon. I know you're a busy guy. I don't want to keep you hold you up, but I do want to ask. I know nowadays, and you've talked about it some, you own and run Holland Fitness and Performance Training. So can you tell us a little bit about like what it is? What's the type of work you do there at your gym?
Yeah, if you want to be an athlete, this is the place. This is the place you want to be. I teach, develop, and refine youth, amateur, high school, college, pro athletes. I am a human movement specialist. So it doesn't matter what sport you play. I teach you to be a better athlete because athletes play sports better. So be it speed development, how to run, how to sprint, because running and sprinting are two different skills. How to move laterally, linear, how to prepare yourself for a season, be it baseball, soccer, football, lacrosse, synchronized swimming. I have 2 Olympic gold medals on my resume. One is from a figure skater, Emmanuel Sandehu. He was in the 2006 Olympics in Utah. Another from an Olympic wrestler. I have I'm going to call his name, but I'm having a brain check right now. I have national championships, gold medals from wheelchair Olympics, men's and women's. These are Canadian national team. I work with hockey players. Again, synchronized swimming, rugby, lacrosse. I have all the major sports: baseball, football, and basketball. So I work with human movement and develop your ability to be a better athlete because athletes play sports better.
Okay.
So I do, and that's what I do in here every day.
I love that. Well, that's great. Well, I've looked at it online. It seems like such a cool spot, and it's in San Ramon, California. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, you're pronouncing it right. Correct.
Okay, perfect. And so if anybody listening or watching wants to check it out, if you have a kid that you think, or is it kids and adults?
Kids and adults. Yeah.
Okay.
I do fitness and performance.
Okay. Perfect. So if you have somebody who you would like to check into it, it is, you can go to their website, Robert's website, Speed for Your Sport, 4. So speed, 4, yoursport.com. Also, I've seen some great videos that Robert has posted of him doing training on Twitter. He can be found at Coach R. Holland, and on Instagram at Coach_Robert_Holland. So that's awesome that you've got that. And that, as you said, that keeps you very busy.
It keeps me very busy. It is not hard for me to get up in the morning because people sort of rely on my guidance and my tutelage. But I really appreciate you checking in on me. And
of course, this has been wonderful.
All the compliments about me and my son, and I really appreciate it.
Of course. Well, you're our first father we've ever had on the show. So I'll get with you a little bit after, and since you're an official Dolphins Talk person now, we're going to send you a little Dolphins Talk coffee mug, as you see on the screen.
Hey.
Make sure you feel officially part of the group now. And we just hope that you have the best Father's Day ever. And we wish the best to Javon with this upcoming season. And thank you so much for taking your time to join us.
Listen, I really appreciate it. And let me be the first to say that I think they've got it all put together this year. And I think we're going to make a run. Like, this is like for real. I think they pieces. I mean, I miss Christian Wilkins, but hey, it is what it is. We got to do what we got to do, but I think they got all the pieces. And so fins up.
Fins up. I'm ready. Well, I hope you have a good rest of your week. Happy Sunday, Father's Day to you and everyone out there in Dolphins Nation. Thank Robert Holland for joining us, and we will see you next time. Everyone have a good day.
All right. All right, fathers. This is to the fathers. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.